I came home after a double shift and found my sister, throwing a party in my apartment again, destroying my stuff in the way. My parents told me to let her be. So I changed the lock and served her restraining order. My feet drag across the hallway carpet of my apartment building as I fumble for my keys. After a 12-hour double shift at Westfield Grill, my back aches, my chef's whites reek of fryer oil, and all I want is the silence of my empty apartment. But the sound of laughter and clinking glasses hits my ears before I even slide the key into the lock. I freeze, key suspended. Someone's in my apartment. The lock clicks open and I push the door wide. My stomach plummets. 6 strangers sprawl across my living room, furniture, drinks in hand. Music thumps from my small Bluetooth speaker. And through the open concept layout, I spot my kitchen, my sanctuary completely destroyed. Daphne Lillian's voice cuts through the chaos. My younger sister bounces toward me, wine glass sloshing dangerously close to the rim. You're home early. Early. It's nearly midnight. I move past her without a word, drawn to the disaster zone that was once my meticulously organized kitchen. Wine bottles litter the countertops. Someone has used my hand-forged Japanese santoku knife to cut limes on the marble surface, leaving deep gouges in the blade. My cast-iron skillet, the one I've seasoned for 3 years, sits in the sink submerged in soapy water. What have you done? My voice comes out as a whisper. We're just having a little fun. Lillian waves dismissively. Don't be so uptight. That's when I spot it. Grandma Miller's handwritten recipe book lies open on the counter, pages warped and stained dark red with wine. The ink bleeds across recipes passed down 3 generations, turning them into abstract watercolors. I touch the sodden pages with trembling fingers. This can't be fixed. The memory rises unbidden, Mom and Dad standing in this very kitchen 6 months ago, insisting I give them a spare key for emergencies only. I'd hesitated, but their hurt expressions wore me down. We're family, Daphne, Dad had said. Don't you trust us? 3 weeks later, I came home from a late shift to find Lillian asleep on my couch, empty wine bottles on my coffee table. My roommate had company, she'd explained with a yawn. I needed somewhere to crash. Then it became a pattern, Lillian dropping by whenever I worked nights. My specialty ingredients, imported vanilla beans, saffron threads, aged balsamic, disappearing without replacement. My kitchen gradually becoming community property. Last month, I'd confronted my parents after finding evidence of another impromptu gathering. Dad's dismissive attitude still stings. That kitchen belongs to family too, Daphne. Don't be so selfish. Mom had nodded in agreement. Lillian's just social dear, you could learn from her. Always the responsible one. Always expected to give in. Always watching Lillian get away with anything while I built my life careful brick by careful brick. A crash yanks me back to the present. Someone has knocked over a stack of copper measuring cups. They roll across the floor like dropped coins. Everyone out. My voice cuts through the chatter. Now. The strangers look at me, then at Lillian, unsure. It's only 11 p.m., Lillian exclaims with theatrical shock. God, you're such a buzzkill. This is my home. My hands tremble, but my voice holds steady. My kitchen. My things that you've destroyed. Uh-oh, please, it's hardly destroyed. Out. Lillian's friends gather their belongings, muttering as they file past me. One guy tries to take a half-full wine bottle. I snatch it from his hand without a word. You're overreacting. Lillian pulls out her phone. I'm calling Mom and Dad. For a second, old habits threaten to surface. The urge to back down to apologize to keep the peace. Then my gaze falls on my chef's knife sitting in a puddle of something sticky. The handle is cracked, the knife Chef Thomas gave me when I graduated culinary school. A cook's knife is her voice in the kitchen, he'd said. Something inside me hardens. Go ahead, call them. I pick up the ruined knife, turning it in the light. But when you're done, you're leaving too. Lillian's eyes widen. She's never seen this version of me before, the one who doesn't bend, the one who doesn't make excuses for her, the stranger who finally sees through the lifetime of manipulation. You can't kick me out. I'm your sister. Watch me. I push her outside and slam the door. Have you ever had that moment when something inside you just snaps? When you realize you've been taken advantage of for far too long? The moment you finally understand that the people who should love you the most have been using that love as a weapon against you. I was about to find out what happens when you finally stand your ground. A week after the incident, I was invited to my parents' house for dinner. My aunt was there as well, carefully watching the situation unfolding. The scent of pot roast hits me the moment I step into my parents' suburban home for Sunday dinner. Mom's been making the same meal on rotation for 20 years. Pot roast means she wants something. Daphne. Just in time. Dad's voice booms from the dining room where crystalline glasses already sparkle with wine. His car dealership smile is in full force, the one that appears when he's about to pitch a customer the extended warranty. Mom bustles from the kitchen, wiping hands on her floral apron. There you are, honey. Lillian's been here for an hour already. Of course she has. Lillian lounges at the table, scrolling through her phone, not bothering to look up. Hey, Daff, she murmurs, one finger still swiping. I take my assigned seat, same chair since I was 12, and notice the thick manila folder placed conspicuously next to Dad's water glass. Red flag. So Dad begins before I've even unfolded my napkin. We've been talking about a business opportunity. Mom practically vibrates with excitement as she serves the pot roast. Richard, let her eat first. No time like the present, Eleanor. He leans forward, elbows on table. Daphne, you know how you've always wanted to work in a real restaurant. I set down my fork. I do work in a real restaurant. Dad waves this away. A line cook job isn't what I mean. We're talking about something you can build. A legacy. Lillian finally looks up, a strange smile playing at her lips. Dad slides the manila folder toward me. We've been exploring options for you to legally register a small restaurant. For me. Something cold settles in my stomach. For the family, Mom corrects, taking her seat. Your culinary expertise combined with Lillian's business acumen. Dad beams. Exactly. You handle the kitchen, and Lillian will be the manager and face of the operation. She'll handle the customers' marketing, all that front-of-house business. I never said You're good at cooking? Dad interrupts, but managing is Lillian's strength. This way it's fair. Fair. The word lands like a slap. I open the folder and freeze. Inside are printed real estate listings with Dad's handwriting in the margins. Available immediately. Good foot traffic. Reasonable lease terms. You've been looking at locations? The pot roast congeals on my plate, untouched. Just preliminary research, Mom says. Nothing definite yet. Lillian slides her phone across the table. Check out my Pinterest board. I've been collecting ideas for months. The screen shows a board titled Our Restaurant with hundreds of pins. The oldest dates back 4 months. My fingers go numb as I scroll through images of restaurant interiors, menu designs, and staff uniforms, all chosen without a single conversation with me. There's more, Dad says, pulling another paper from the folder. We've started the loan application process. Just need your signature since you're the one with the culinary background. My signature, my credit, my responsibility if it fails, but not my vision. We've told everyone at church, Mom adds, refilling wine glasses. The whole family is so excited about the girls' restaurant venture. When exactly were you planning to ask if I wanted this? My voice comes out quieter than intended. Dad's eyebrows rise. This is how family businesses work. Daphne, we all have our roles. You cook excellent food and Lillian handles the business end. Don't you want us to be close again? Lillian asks, voice honey sweet, like when we were kids. Remember how we used to play restaurant with your easy bake oven? The memory twists in my chest. What she doesn't mention is how she always made me cook while she the monopoly money from our stuffed animal customers. I need some air. I push back from the table and step onto the back porch. The cool evening air a relief against my flushed skin. The sliding door opens behind me. Not Mom or Dad's heavy steps, but the lighter tread of Aunt Margaret, Mom's sister. She was quiet during the gathering, but I suppose she has another plan. I figured this might happen tonight, she says, joining me at the railing. They've been talking about nothing else for weeks. Did everyone know about this except me? Aunt Margaret sighs. They've always done this to you, used your talents while giving Lillian the spotlight. I turn to her, surprised. What do you mean? Your mother did the same thing to me when we were young. She touches my arm. I designed all her prom dresses, but she told everyone she made them herself. The parallel lands hard. I don't know what to do. Your talent is yours alone, Daphne. Don't let them convince you otherwise. She squeezes my hand. And if you need a place to stay for a while, my guest room is yours. A place to stay. Why would I? The sliding door opens again. Dad stands there, backlit by the dining room light. We're waiting on you to continue our discussion, Daphne. Back inside, they've cleared dinner plates. The loan application sits squarely at my place, setting a pen resting on top. Your mother and I co-signed your lease, honey, Dad says casually as I sit. Remember that. The threat isn't even thinly veiled. Mom pats my hand. Your schedule at the restaurant would allow you to handle the kitchen while Lillian takes the important client meetings. The investors are expecting to meet both Miller sisters next week, Lillian adds. I've already confirmed. I look around the table at these familiar faces now revealed as strangers. They've planned my entire future without a single question about what I want. The weight of their expectations crushes against my chest. I need time to think about this. I stand gathering my purse. Don't overthink it, Dad says. This is what families do: support each other. Support. As if this elaborate scheme to harness my culinary skills for Lillian's benefit could be called support. Aunt Margaret catches my eye across the table. Her slight nod steadies me. Family can be our greatest support or our heaviest burden. As I drive home, the loan application untouched in the back seat, I wonder how many others have sat at their family table and realized the price of belonging was surrendering their dreams. 2 days after the ambush, my phone buzzed for the 5th time this morning. Dad again. I let it ring until voicemail picks up, knowing exactly what he wants to discuss. Restaurant details. That's what their plan: to use my culinary school credentials while giving Lillian the spotlight. A text follows immediately. Daphne, your mother found the perfect location on Adams Avenue, meeting the realtor at 2. Be there. Not a request, a command, as if I've already agreed to this entire scheme. The buzzing continues all morning. Mom calls about recipe modifications to make them more commercial, dear. Lillian texts about potential investors she's bringing by my apartment tomorrow without asking. Again. I'm chopping onions for my dinner prep when Mrs. Henderson from church calls. Just wanted to congratulate you on the restaurant. Your father announced it during fellowship hour. So proud of you girls finally working together. My knife slips, nearly catching my finger. He announced it. Oh, yes, dear. His girl's opening a restaurant. The whole congregation is thrilled. Lillian even showed everyone some logo designs on her phone. Your name was on them, too. The world tilts sideways. I thank her automatically and hang up my hands, shaking so badly I have to put the knife down. They're creating a reality I never agreed to. Building walls around me brick by brick until I have no choice but to surrender. Later that evening, my phone rings with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignore it, assuming it's another family friend calling to congratulate me. But something makes me answer. Is this Daphne Miller? A woman's crisp voice, professionally warm. Yes, speaking. This is Valerie Chambers, executive assistant to Chef Thomas Anderson at Ember. We received your resume last month. Chef Anderson would like to interview you tomorrow morning if you're available. My heart stutters. Ember is the prestigious new restaurant opening downtown. I'd sent my resume on a whim last month, never expecting a callback. Yes, absolutely, yes. The Ember kitchen gleams with purpose the next morning. No clutter, no chaos, just the quiet precision of professional chefs preparing for service. Chef Anderson is tall and serious, his eyes missing nothing as I prepare my signature scallop dish during the working interview. He watches without comment until I plate, then takes a single bite. His expression remains neutral, but something shifts in his eyes. Your flavor profiles are extraordinary, Daphne. The validation feels foreign, almost uncomfortable. No comparison to Lillian, no dismissal of my career as just cooking, just recognition of what I can do. I need a head chef, someone with your technical skills and palate. He leans against the counter, creative control of the menu. Your name featured prominently, proper salary and benefits. I stand paralyzed, unable to process what I'm hearing. But there must be more qualified chefs in San Diego. I've interviewed 12. None understand balance like you do. He slides a contract across the counter. Take the weekend to think about it. When I return to my apartment, Lillian is waiting outside my door with a large portfolio tucked under her arm. She doesn't wait for an invitation breezing past me as I unlock the door. Finally, I've been waiting forever. She spreads fabric swatches across my coffee table. These are for the banquets. I'm thinking the burgundy velvet, but Mom likes the charcoal. I set my keys down carefully. Lillian, when did I ever say yes to any of this? She doesn't even look up. We have meetings with 3 banks next week for the small business loans. Dad says your credit score will help with the terms. Lillian, stop. My voice carries an edge I've never used with her before. I haven't agreed to open a restaurant with you. She finally glances up, blinking in genuine confusion. We've been planning this for months. You've been planning. I've been avoiding the conversation. She rolls her eyes dramatically. Oh, please, like you had better options. Being a line cook forever, this is your chance to actually be somebody. The truth hits me like cold water. They never believed in my talent or ambition. They never saw me capable of success without Lillian's charisma or Dad's business connections. I interviewed at Ember today. They offered me head chef position. Lillian's laugh is sharp. Right. And I'm opening for Taylor Swift next week. I pull out my phone, showing her Chef Anderson's follow-up email with salary details. Her face falls as she reads, color draining from her cheeks. But our restaurant. But your restaurant, I correct her. On my credentials, with my liability if it fails. That evening, Aunt Margaret calls. I heard from your mother that you're being difficult about the restaurant. I brace for more pressure. Instead, she says, good for you. I know a small business attorney who can help you formally decline involvement. My treat. The floodgates open. I tell her everything. The exploitation, the assumptions, Chef Anderson's offer. Your father pulled the same stunt with your mother 30 years ago. She reveals. Used her nursing license to open his first dealership while giving her no real authority. History repeating itself. The next day, my culinary school mentor calls. I heard you might be settling for less than you deserve. Any truth to that, word travels fast in professional kitchens. When I explain the situation to my coworkers during prep, they close ranks around me with protective fury. The headline cook offers his brother's services to change my locks. The pastry chef invites me to stay at her place if things get ugly. For the first time, I see an alternative family forming around me, one that values what I bring to the table instead of what they can take from it. That night alone in my kitchen, I cook. Not for others, not for approval, just for the pure chemistry of it. As the flavors build and transform, understanding washes over me. My kitchen was never just about food. It was about control in a life where I had so little, the one space where my decisions mattered. The next morning, I call the locksmith. By afternoon, new keys sit heavy and powerful in my palm. Then I dial Chef Anderson's number. I'd like to accept your offer. The certainty in my voice surprises even me. For once, I'm making a decision solely for myself. The week blurs as I sign my contract, quietly retrieve personal items from my parents' house, and work with Aunt Margaret's lawyer to draft a simple statement declining family business involvement. We prepare responses for every manipulation tactic they might employ at the family meeting they've scheduled for Tuesday next week. The meeting where they expect me to finalize my agreement to their plan. On Monday, my phone constantly buzzes with excited messages. From Dad, proud of you, kiddo. Signed the lease today. Big announcement tomorrow. Mom leaves a voicemail about the invitation list for a soft opening. Lillian sends a group text to her friends about my sister, and I finally making our dream come true. I place the signed Ember contract carefully in my bag. The weight of the paper feels like armor. My reflection in the hallway mirror shows someone I barely recognize, someone with quiet strength in her eyes as she grabs her car keys and heads to her parents' house. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. Have you ever had to make a decision that you knew would disappoint your family, but was necessary for your own well-being? Share your experience below. The next day at the Tuesday meeting, the incorporation papers sit in the center of my parents' oak dining table like a trap waiting for spring. Around me, excited chatter bounces off walls that have witnessed 35 years of Miller family manipulation. My father beams. My mother clasps her hands in delight. Lillian tosses her hair, accepting congratulations for a restaurant she hasn't earned. The contractor says we can start renovations next week. Dad announces, slapping his palm against blueprints I've never seen. Your mother's church friends are already booking the private room for their gatherings. I sit perfectly still, hands folded in my lap, watching them orchestrate my future without my input. The graphic designer, some college friend of Lillian's, flips open his laptop. Here's the final logo. He turns the screen toward me. Lillian's dominates an elegant script. Beneath it, in text barely larger than fine print, Kitchen by Daphne. The room falls quiet, all eyes turning to me for the expected grateful tears. Just need your signature, honey. Dad slides the incorporation papers toward me, his Mont Blanc pen extended like a scepter. Then we can celebrate properly. I look at the pen, then at each family member's expectant face. I won't be part of this. I say, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I've already accepted a position as head chef at Ember last week. The silence that follows feels like the moment after glass shatters. This is just a phase. My father recovers first, dismissing my career as he's done my entire life. Head chef at someone else's restaurant is nothing compared to owning your own. My mother's eyes immediately fill with tears. After all we've done for you. She presses a tissue to her face, a performance I've seen countless times. Lillian stands so quickly her chair scrapes against hardwood. You're just jealous it wasn't your idea. Her voice pitches higher with each word. We've already invested so much, you can't back out now. Dad pulls out his phone. I'm calling Uncle Robert. He needs to hear how you're abandoning your sister's dream at the last minute. I watch him dial with theatrical outrage. In my pocket, my phone vibrates. Glancing down, I see Lillian's vague Instagram post already accumulating sympathetic comments. Family can break your heart when you least expect it. The coordinated attack unfolds exactly as I predicted. My father's voice rises as he recounts my betrayal to extended family. My mother steps into the kitchen, no doubt texting her church friends about her selfish daughter. The familiar weight of family shame presses down, except this time it doesn't crush me. The front door opens and Aunt Margaret strides in without knocking. "I figured you might need backup," she says, squeezing my shoulder before addressing the room. "Have any of you even tasted Daphne's food lately? She's brilliant." My phone buzzes again. A text from Chef Anderson. "Team's excited to have you on board Monday." Below it, notifications from culinary school classmates commenting on my LinkedIn update about the new position. "I've already signed a contract." I explain, calmly drawing the document from my bag, which means I can't legally enter another business arrangement that would create a conflict of interest. Dad's face reddens, but the lease is in your name, I finish for him, as is the loan application, as are all the commitments you've made without my consent. Lillian steps toward me, mascara smudging beneath her eyes. "What am I supposed to do now?" I stand gathering my belongings. "That's not my problem to solve. But you were always the responsible one we could count on." My mother blurts, then immediately looks down. My father runs a hand through his thinning hair. "Lillian's not equipped to handle this alone. I need your name on this to get the loans." Lillian's voice cracks, finally revealing the truth. Not a partner, a guarantor, not a chef collateral. The realization settles over me with strange clarity. They never wanted my talent or input, just my signature and my labor. I've spent my entire life being responsible for Lillian's dreams while putting mine aside. I say, rising from the table. That ends today. Aunt Margaret wraps an arm around my shoulders as we walk toward the door. "You can't walk away from family." My father calls after me, his voice smaller than I've ever heard it. I turn back one last time. I'm not walking away from family. I'm walking toward self-respect. Outside, the evening air feels clean against my face. My hands should be shaking, but they're surprisingly steady. Aunt Margaret gives me a sideways glance as we reach my car. "That moment when you finally stand up for yourself can be both terrifying and liberating," she says quietly. "Was it worth it?" I look back at the house where I've spent decades diminishing myself to fit their expectations. Through the window, I can see them still sitting at the table, the abandoned papers between them. Every second I answer and mean it. The doorbell rings at exactly 7 o'clock Sunday evening. I've been expecting them. Through the peephole, I see my father standing rigidly in the hallway, my mother nervously smoothing her cardigan. Behind them, Lillian dabs at red-rimmed eyes with a tissue. The surprise is Grandma Miller leaning on her wooden cane looking confused. A calculated ambush. Bringing Grandma was their nuclear option. I open the door, my face carefully neutral. "This is unexpected. We need to talk about what you're doing to this family," my father says, his car salesman voice already activated. "Your grandmother insisted on coming when she heard how upset Lillian's been." Grandma reaches for my hand. "I don't understand what's happening, Daphne. Everyone's so upset. Please come in." I step aside, allowing them into my apartment. The space looks different now, rearranged, reclaimed. Security cameras discreetly mounted in corners. New locks gleaming on the door. My mother notices immediately. "You changed the locks." I did. I guide Grandma to the most comfortable chair. "I have something prepared. Please sit down." My kitchen island holds an array of small plates, 5 distinct dishes, arranged with professional precision. Each represents a component of the tasting menu I've developed for my position as head chef. "What's all this?" My father waves dismissively at the food. "My work. Please try it." Lillian remains standing, arms crossed. "We didn't come here to eat, Daphne. We came because you've ruined everything I've worked for." Her voice cracks on cue. "The investors pulled out when they learned you wouldn't be involved." My father steps closer. "Your mother and I co-signed your lease. Remember that. The threat hangs in the air between us." "Sit down," I say again, pulling out stools. "Or leave. Those are your options." Something in my voice, perhaps the complete absence of apology, makes them hesitate. They exchange glances before slowly taking seats around my kitchen island. I move through my kitchen with practiced efficiency, plating the final touches on each dish. The space feels different now, sacred. Mine. I serve each person, describing the components with professional detachment. Seared scallop with brown butter and sage. Wild mushroom risotto with truffle oil. Braised short rib with red wine reduction. Grandma Miller takes a bite of the scallop. Her eyes widen, then close in appreciation. "This is extraordinary, Daphne." My mother picks at her food. "It's very nice, dear, but we need to discuss." I'm not finished. I retrieve a folder from the counter and open it between us. I have been gathering pieces of proof against my family for a long time. Security camera footage from the past 3 months. 27 unauthorized entries to my apartment while I was working. I slide printed stills across the counter. Lillian's parties, kitchen destruction, my personal property damaged. My father pushes the photos away. Family doesn't need permission. Text messages. I place my phone between us, scrolling through Lillian's texts to friends. Using my sister's fancy apartment again tonight. She's working till midnight. Their faces change as I continue. Loan applications with forged signatures. My signature. That's fraud, Dad. I place the paperwork before him. A statement from my apartment manager about noise complaints during my absence. The kitchen falls silent except for Grandma, who continues eating, making small sounds of pleasure. You never saw me as a person with dreams. I say, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest, just as a useful tool for Lillian's ambitions. A signature on paperwork, free labor, a kitchen to use when convenient. I remove my house key from the ring and place it on the counter. No more emergencies, no more unannounced visits. My boundaries are non-negotiable from this point forward. Respect them or don't be in my life. That's your choice. My father sits stunned into silence for perhaps the first time in his life. My mother stares at me like she's seeing a stranger. You've always been the favorite anyway. Lillian suddenly bursts out, mascara streaming down her cheeks. They've always bragged about your cooking while I couldn't find my thing. That's not true, Lillian. My mother starts, but Grandma's voice cuts through. It's about time someone told them the truth. Grandma sets down her fork with a decisive clink. Richard, Eleanor, you've used this girl shamelessly for years. I've watched it happen. My parents exchange panicked glances. This wasn't in their script. We should go. My father mumbles, standing abruptly. My mother follows, tugging at Lillian's arm. I'm staying a while, Grandma announces. Daphne and I have catching up to do. They leave in disarray, the door clicking shut behind them. The apartment feels lighter somehow, as if their departure has altered the air pressure. Grandma reaches for my hand across the counter. Your grandfather would be so proud. He never let anyone take his work for granted either. She opens her large purse and unwraps something from layers of cloth. A chef's knife with a well-worn wooden handle gleams in the kitchen light, his favorite. I've been saving it. She places it in my hands for the right moment, for the right Miller. The knife feels perfectly balanced, its edge still keen after decades. A proper tool passed to hands that would honor it. Thank you, I whisper, running my finger along the spine. Family patterns can be broken with courage, Grandma says, lifting her glass in a toast. And sometimes the greatest act of love is setting a boundary that everyone must respect. 6 months later, I slide the tray of sage-crusted lamb chops into the oven, checking the time. 2 hours until service begins at Anderson's, but the kitchen already hums with precision. My sous chef finishes the sauce reduction exactly as I need it. My standards have elevated this kitchen, and they rise to meet me. Chef Miller, that writer from San Diego Cuisine, is here again. Marcus calls, wiping his hands on his apron. Said your autumn tasting menu deserves another feature. 4 months as head chef, and already the locals know my name. Not because I'm Richard Miller's daughter or Lillian's sister, but because my food speaks its own language. Customers specifically request Chef Miller's special, and my team executes my vision without question. The quiet satisfaction feels nothing like the approval I once chased from my family. 6 months after standing my ground, I find myself in another kitchen, entirely teaching an evening class at my old culinary school. A student struggles with the emulsion technique I once fumbled under my father's impatient watch. Take your time, I tell her, demonstrating the gentle wrist motion again. Rushing only breaks the sauce. Watching her succeed where I once failed, something clicks into place. I've broken more than just an old family pattern. I've created space for others to learn without shame. The realization warms me more than any family praise ever did. Sunday dinners still happen, but on my terms. Last week, my father actually nodded when I mentioned the local restaurant award. Saw that in the paper he said something like respect in his voice for the first time. My mother surprised me, asking about my signature techniques without once mentioning how Lillian might improve them. Small steps, but progress. You showed them who you really are, Aunt Margaret whispered before leaving. That's the hardest battle anyone fights. The text from Lillian comes unexpectedly one Tuesday morning. I was wrong for using you. I want to start fresh. We meet at a coffee shop downtown, no parents buffering the space between us. Her hands fidget with her napkin. I've been riding your coattails my whole life, she admits, eyes finally meeting mine. It was easier than finding my own way. She shows me her acceptance letter to a hospitality management program, then mentions her junior manager position at a small bistro. It's entry level, but it's mine. Esther. The gathering in my apartment weeks later feels nothing like the invasion that started everything. Colleagues mingle with Aunt Margaret while my grandmother samples each appetizer with deliberate appreciation. When Lillian arrives, her homemade crostini looks lopsided but earnest. The texture's close, I say, showing her how to adjust the bread thickness. The same kitchen, completely different energy. My parents call before visiting now, a small victory that feels monumental. Lillian asks for advice instead of assuming entitlement. Cooking in my reclaimed sanctuary brings a peace I never knew possible. Sometimes you have to fight for your space to help others find theirs. I tell a young line cook facing similar pressure from her family. My story becomes her permission to set boundaries. Plans for my own small restaurant take shape on paper, truly mine this time. Lillian offers genuine support without assuming involvement. We found our separate paths linked by newfound respect. Late tonight, I experiment with a new recipe. My movement's confident in the kitchen that nearly cost me everything. Grandmother's knife gleams under the pendant light, a symbol of true legacy. My phone lights up with Lillian's text. Got the promotion. Thanks for showing me how to stand on my own. I smile, realizing the truth. The recipe for family healing requires the hardest ingredient of all, truth, but once added, everything else falls perfectly into place.